So it's been officially 72 hours since we got the update from Brad Garlinghouse that Ripple is dropping their cross appeal and that the SEC is expected to drop their appeal as they've previously said. And we're just waiting for the announcement from the SEC. By the time that this video does go live, I'm hoping that we get that announcement. I have been watching the SEC's overall account all day and over the last couple of days as well, waiting for a huge announcement. But of course, now it is Monday and the weekend has passed, so we should see a major update with this. Now, a lot of people are questioning how long we're going to have to wait and if the SEC is going to make us wait it out. I'm not too sure on when we will get that announcement, but I do believe that this case has been done for quite some time. I mean, the XRP portion, in my opinion, has been done since going all the way back to July of 2023, and we've just been waiting on the Ripple side of this. But now that the market is opening up, it feels as if this case has been kind of put to rest. Now, we are still waiting patiently, and I'm sure that a lot of you out there that have been, following this case since day one, we all know that we thought this case was going to be finished back in 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024, and it is officially 2025, and this case is still haunting us. So we definitely have to be patient on this one, but I am hopeful that we get the big announcement from the SEC, and from that announcement, I do expect a few things. Number one, more institutional grade adoption through Ripple. Number two, I do expect the XRP market and the XRP side of the ecosystem as well to also expand in a huge way. I also expect US presence from Ripple really becoming a big deal. And what I mean by that is more acquisitions, more partnerships, even banking partnerships, and more organizational partnerships as well. I think that this case is going to really start to, I think what we're going to see after this case is officially put to rest, we're going to witness how big of an obstacle this case actually was for Ripple and possibly even XRP. We already know that it harmed XRP, in a huge way since going all the way back to December of 2020. So definitely looking forward to all of that, but then also ETFs. We already know that retail believes that there's a 77% chance that we get an ETF approved in 2025 around XRP. The question is, are they correct? We've been hearing quite a bit of news around ETFs for XRP and for even altcoins. The altcoin market around ETFs are definitely opening up, and I've been focused on this even with HBAR, because HBAR has been a big one for ETFs. We know that there's been a few XRP ETFs already approved outside of the US and Canada and even Brazil. We also know that there's been a futures ETF approved in the US around XRP. So the question here is, do we get an XRP ETF approved within the next couple weeks? I do believe that we do. Also, I think that we get a lot more filings for XRP ETFs as well once that case is fully, put to rest. I think the major one will be a BlackRock ETF filing. I think that that is pretty much guaranteed considering the fact that they already, have a Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF. I think XRP makes a lot of sense considering the fact that it is the third largest cryptocurrency, and also all the hype and the demand around XRP as well definitely doesn't hurt either. So on top of that, we do have a big update around one ETF, which is Franklin Templeton's. This is actually from Ripple XZD. Hope that I'm saying that correctly. But we have Franklin Templeton's XRP ETF gains traction with the Ripple versus SEC case closed. The SEC has opened public comments on the ETF filing, a clear signal that institutional XRP products are finally on the table. The future is unfolding. And yeah, we actually saw this back on the 17th. This is actually prior to the case being, closed out, or at least getting this big update with the case from Brad. But on the 17th, they did start looking more into the ETFs, which is definitely interesting in terms of the time frame because they're now opening up public comments on this ETF filing, and I'm sure that those public comments are going to be pretty bullish. But overall, I think that we're getting closer and closer to an official spot XRP ETF trading live in the US. And I think that from that point on, especially in terms of the numbers around it, I think that that's going to really entice all other players to really kind of get on board with an XRP ETF, because I already know how successful that it will be, considering how successful XRP has been over just the last couple, months or so. And when I say that, I don't just mean price action. I'm talking about volume and the value pushed into XRP. We know that there's been a lot of whales investing into XRP, and of course, leading into November of 2024, and what happened in November and December of 2024. Obviously, XRP has been very successful this cycle. I mean, in the last year, it's up over 300+%. But also, we did get a big update from Nate Garashi, who, by the way, is the president of ETF Store, host of ETF Prime, co-founder of ETF Institute as well. This is an ETF specialist. We have final SEC deadline this week on Grayscale Digital Large Cap ETF GDLC. This actually holds Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and ADA. Think high likelihood this gets approved. Would then be followed later by approval for individual spot ETFs on XRP, Solana, ADA, and etc. Side benefit for SEC in approving GDLC is that it would provide nice test run for additional crypto assets in ETF wrapper. XRP, Solana, and ADA represent greater than or less than 10% combined of GDLC's holdings. Easy way to slowly step into other assets. One other thought, SEC now allows private assets in ETFs up to 15% of holdings, though an issuer has gotten creative to exceed that. No reason to not allow 10% weighting to crypto assets besides already approved Bitcoin and Ethereum. 33 Act versus 40 Act, but still would be incongruent. Lastly, amended S3 was filed this past Thursday, so SEC clearly engaged here, which we already knew. So yeah, this is definitely a big one to also watch. I mean, Grayscale has been very bullish on XRP up until the lawsuit. Then they, discontinued XRP within their trust, but then they re-added it back. I think it was after actually July of 2023. And even today, we have this as of 6/27. This is the number of holdings, 5. XRP is at number 3 with about 4.63%, which is higher than Solana and all other altcoins outside of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, they still are very bullish on XRP, and this definitely shows. So, with that, we also look at all of the additional ETFs, right? Because this is definitely a big update because it does show us that there will most likely be XRP spot ETFs approved after this, if this does get streamlined through, which I don't see any problems with this, just like Nate doesn't. If that is the case, we're definitely looking at all of the additional ETFs, like, for example, the 1 through 18 of them over here, which is just this list, but, expand it because we have, like, for an example, 4 ProShares ETFs. We also have 3 volatility shares, 2 Hashdexes, 2 Teucriums as well. So, that's 18 overall, or I believe it actually might be a little bit more now. I think that they're actually up to like over 20 plus because this was as of April 8th of this year. But the overall, market for XRP ETFs is just wild. We also got a big update from Bloomberg recently on the 20th, actually, where a Bloomberg ETF analyst raised XRP approval odds to 95% this year. So although retail believes 77%, well, ETF analysts believe 95%. And if we actually look at this list, there's a 95% chance of multiple ETFs from, Litecoin to Solana to Dogecoin, Cardano, Polkadot, HBAR, Avalanche. Most of these are either 90 to 95%. 95% is XRP, Solana, and Litecoin. 90% is Doge, Cardano, Polkadot, HBAR, and Avalanche. Sorry, Sui, you're only at a 60% chance there, but yeah, I mean, it's very exciting to see how huge Bloomberg is on ETFs for altcoins. I mean, they understand it. They know that ETFs are next in line, considering the fact that Bitcoin and Ethereum definitely have been successful. But just like the retail sector knows altcoins are the biggest players in this cycle, once alt season does hit, they outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum every single cycle almost. Then guess what? ETFs for them must be very successful as well if they get the right ones. And XRP, I do think is definitely going to be a right one. Solana will definitely be successful as well. And the rest should be on par with it, including, of course, HBAR. Now, also talking about some big players, what about Matt Hogan of Bitwise? On the 8th of June, he indicated that the XRP ETF is moving forward, propelled by growing institutional interest in cryptocurrencies, which also should accelerate the XRP ETF getting approved. The reason why I bring this back up is because of this. So this is from Digital Asset Investor. Every week we're unlocking another $5 to $10 trillion that couldn't buy crypto. It's just too much money. 95% of the world's wealth has 0% in crypto. That's going to change. This is XRP ETF applicant Matt Hogan from Bitwise Invest, XRP Las Vegas of this year. Check it out.
I'm extraordinarily bullish. I spend my days traveling to traditional financial conferences. And 2 years ago, I used to speak pre-conference. And then a year ago, I used to speak on a secondary stage. And I've keynoted 3 major broker-dealer conferences over the last 2 months. These people control 30, 40, 50 trillion dollars, depending on how you count. When I survey the room, I ask people to raise their hands. How many own crypto in a client account? And you get like 3 hands. And then how many are considering buying it in the next year? And you get like 70% of the room. So I think we're just, every week, we're unlocking another 5 to 10 trillion dollars that couldn't buy crypto. Last week, the Department of Labor changed their rules so 401ks could start allocating to crypto. That's another $8 trillion unlock. Steve will say that's not going to happen overnight. He's absolutely right. That will take multiple years. But the week before that, a major wirehouse that has $7 trillion unlocked crypto ETFs. It's just too much money. You know, I say this all the time, like 95% of the world's wealth has 0% in crypto. That's going to change. So that's why I guess I'm a permabull until that plays out.
And yeah, why wouldn't you be a permabull? I mean, 95% of the world's wealth has 0% crypto. These ETFs open up the doors to trillions of dollars. That's why this case was so crucial to actually follow up until this point. I mean, yes, like I said, the XRP portion has been over since going back to 2023, but I feel like the traditional markets actually don't know that. They don't see a difference between Ripple and XRP, and I think even Polymarket is a very good indicator of this, how they have this titled Ripple ETF. It's just so comical to me, but, you know, we're definitely, you know, focused on this case ending because we want the market to really open up for XRP ETFs. A lot of people think that these ETFs are going to be useless. They're not going to matter at all, but the spot ETFs definitely do matter, all right? They provide value and volume into XRP. They also allow us to have institutional grade opportunities for XRP to the traditional world, which means more trust. You know, people look at the names that are filing for these ETFs or even have these ETFs trading live on their platforms, and they say, all right, well, I could trust this. It's, you know, from BlackRock or Fidelity or, you know, this name that I know of. So it provides that trust layer. A lot of people actually don't want to download Coinbase. They don't want to tap into a crypto exchange. They don't even want to touch crypto because maybe their friend was on FTX and they told them about this horrible experience that they had. So again, this is definitely a huge opportunity for XRP. And I do think that this opportunity is going to open up in a big way from this case officially ending. Also, a good friend of mine, Crypto Insight UK, definitely pointed out a great thing. He said, I must say, as I was trying to hint at yesterday, I'm more in the camp now that the correction is over. That route is ready. I think we see an XRP ETF approval imminently and more acquisitions. I think that narrative supports positive price action and the charts look primed. Yeah, I mean, XRP's chart looks primed. I've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks. I've been saying that, you know, yeah, sure, we get one major swing low. We got it. From that point on, we probably consolidate for a little bit and then we just go crazy. And I think that we're at that, you know, consolidation point. I'm waiting for the crazy part to actually officially start, which is why I did also say this morning that, yeah, I do think that the craziest bull run is brewing behind the scenes. We just have to be a little bit more patient. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, Nick, thanks for watching. Peace out.